Hi, I'm Debbie Parker, and I'm here on behalf of the Roy Ernst Music Institute, also known as REMI. I'm here with my dear friend Adam Workman, president and founder of Flutistry, a flute sales and repair company that is designed to help flutists like you sound their best. Hi, Adam.
Hi, Debbie. Thank you so much for being here at Flutistry at our shop in Boston. You know, Boston is not only the capital of Massachusetts, but it's actually the global epicenter of flute making. And it's respected and admired by flutists far and wide. So we're really happy that you're here.
Oh, we are too. So today we are here to learn how to buy a flute. Between my many years in the flute industry itself, and as a music educator, I have found that Flutistry has developed the most comprehensive yet simple process to discover the right instrument for you and how to go about those ins and outs of how do you find the voice that you need to have in your flute. So this process works for all levels of flutists, whether you're a beginner, amateur adult, or a professional playing in an orchestra. This is a process that will guide you to finding your voice. So I think we should get fluting.
Debbie, looking for a new instrument is such an exciting opportunity for flutists. You know, a new instrument can help improve their sound, facilitate their technique, and inspire new musical possibilities.
That's true. However, it can be overwhelming. There are so many choices now, and when it comes to buying a flute, sometimes you can just get frozen in the process. Where do I begin? How do I do this?
That's right, and absolutely. You know, we've developed this process. And we call it the smart search method. And we developed this process because it can be overwhelming, as exciting as it is, and it's incredibly exciting to get to try instruments, it really is. But when you have a lot of choices, it can become overwhelming at times. And even if it's not overwhelming, this method really helps make the process streamlined, and so you really understand the decisions that you're making in the process. So Smart Search is an acronym that stands for Start Your Search when you can maximize your artistic reasons for looking, your artistry, your resources, and of course, when we think resources, you're probably thinking, like a lot of us, money, and that is absolutely one of the most important resources. And then finally, the timing of your trial. So this process is essentially designed to prepare you before you even really start your trial, so that you have all the information that you need for the most effective search.
Okay, so Smart Search really means you're going to get yourself organized on how to do it. And the Smart Search part really doesn't take a whole lot of time, but it does get you organized. So tell me, in your search, how do you maximize your artistry, resources, and timing? So, how does this help?
Well, what we found, Debbie, is that laying the groundwork for someone's search before trialing the instruments really helps them define and remind the player what they're looking for throughout the process.
Okay, so artistry is first.
That's right. Start your search when you can maximize artistry.
Artistry. So tell me about artistry and how you define your own artistry, especially for some of the players I have. They are playing every Tuesday night in a community band. For some, they're professionals in an orchestra. How do you set artistic goals for any flute player out there?
Well, flutists are looking for instruments for all types of reasons, right? Whether it's that they've outgrown their current instrument, which does happen, or maybe they're having consistent mechanical issues. I'm sure some of you have experienced that before at some point, or maybe you have colleagues, friends, or students that have had that. I certainly had those problems growing up.
Well, a lot of us have started on hand-me-down instruments.
That's right.
So you've just taken what's been in the closet, in the attic from Aunt Lucy.
Aunt Lucy. We all know Aunt Lucy's flute. That's right.
You're playing it for years, so yeah, it's time for an upgrade.
So, there's some basic reasons like that. But then also, we have a lot of players, no matter what their level, that are really looking to elevate their play. Right? So essentially, they might be looking for a bigger, more flexible sound. They might be looking for more color choices, cleaner articulation, technical ease. The list of artistic reasons why someone might be looking for a new instrument really could go on and on.
Okay, so by setting your artistic goals, you're basically organizing yourself and your thought process of your shopping list of what do you need to do, how do you want to improve as a flutist, what are you looking for?
Yeah, I mean, making your list so that you can reference it throughout the trial process is really essential, right? And that's actually why we don't put resources first, even though everyone is usually concerned about the finances. Defining your artistic list will help you recognize and have clarity, recognize the best match for you when it's right there, because you've already decided what you're looking for, and then when it happens, you can have that aha moment.
Right. And so when I've done this process myself, I think it's really important, and when I've worked with Adam and I've watched Adam with other flutists, some of the first things that happen is a conversation about what your goals are. What are you playing on currently? What do you want to improve in your playing? So that's what we're talking about here. This step is very, very important. So, okay, we've done that. We've set, I know, our artistic goals. So let's talk about the next step, resources. And the first thing, of course, as we mentioned, money. How much is this going to cost, and budget? So the good news for flute players out there is that when a long time ago, when this hair was a little darker, the flutes that were available were your beginning level flutes and then your custom flutes, and there was nothing in between cost-wise. And now the flute makers out there they have a flute for every level and at every price level. So there are quite a number of options for everyone. We can always find the right flute for you.
Within your budget.
Within your budget, right.
Yeah. And not only can we help you find the right flute for you in your price range, but there are a lot of other ways too to help support that budget, right? So someone can set a budget often because they think they shouldn't spend more than a certain amount, or maybe they think they don't need to spend more than a certain amount. And of course, we don't want you to spend money unnecessarily, but we do want you to attain your goals, your artistic goals, right? So essentially, not only can we help you determine what those instruments are based on your budget, but we can help you learn how to finance that budget. And certainly a team like ours is well equipped with all of our experience to help advise you about just the logistics of the finances. And also, of course, to identify the instruments that, we think can help meet your artistic goals and are of the quality and the price point that is within your budget. So we want to make all of that attainable for you. So setting your budget and being really clear about what that is an essential part of the process. Right.
And you as a flutist need to ask questions about it. Don't forget to ask questions about financing. I think a lot of flutists don't do that. They forget about that. So when it comes to funding and financing, that seems to cover the resources category, but wait, there's more, right?
There is more.
What else is under resources?
Yeah, so resources is an umbrella term that we use to capture kind of all the things that you can reference and that you need to have kind of in line in order to really make your decision and ultimately to make your purchase. So, there's a lot of other things to think about. For instance, it's not just money and budget and financing, but it's also people. People are very important in your search, right? And so you might be thinking about who some of these people might be for you. One really popular and kind of number one people resources that we consider is, drum roll please, your teacher.
Yes.
Right? We need to make sure that your teacher is involved in the process. And for those of you that might not be taking private lessons on a full-time basis, you certainly have friends and colleagues maybe that are interested in hearing you play and helping you make that choice. But if you're working with a teacher who's helping you progress in a certain direction, you want to make sure that they're part of the process. So it's not just your teachers, though, that are the people that we would consider in resources, but, like I mentioned, your colleagues, if you're a student, your classmates, if you're in a conservatory or a music school, or maybe you're a music education major or something. You're going to have people around you that have opinions and would be happy to share them with you if you are looking for that input, right? So classmates, colleagues, conductors, decision makers, and for those of you that it impacts, your family. You want your family to be part of the process, right? So they know that you're thinking of making this investment in your artistry and that you have their support. That's a really important step.
Really important.
And then, not for a shameless plug, but experts like myself and our team here at Flutistry, we're people too, and we have a lot of experience that can really be to your benefit.
People in the flute industry do this every day. They do it all the time. They have incredible ears because they just hear the differences in how flutes and people react together. So it's a huge resource, and you can do that long distance actually, and you can do it in person if you're at a flute festival, whatever. So.
And we'll talk about that a little bit later as well. There's another resource though, which is actually one that not a lot of people think of off the bat, and that is the instruments, right? We need to have great instruments to try. And the reality is that not every instrument, every brand and model that you might be familiar with is really created equal, or shall I say, treated equally, right? So when you go into a place or you're at an exhibit or you come to a business like ours that has instruments for you to try, or maybe we're sending these instruments to your home for a private trial, the way the instruments have been essentially handled and treated since they've arrived at that place is very important in terms of how they're playing. We want every brand and model of instrument that is in your price range that you might seriously be considering to be playing at its very best, so that it represents the brand's concept and can kind of give you some foresight on how the instrument might be behaving when you actually make the purchase. So making sure that you have great instruments and great advice. And when we talk about people, what we're really talking about is their ears and their ability to communicate to you what they're hearing.
Right.
So there's a lot of different resources involved, from money to people to the instruments, and maybe even to the spaces that you might be trying the instruments in, right? Are you playing in your living room? Are you trying the instruments in a big hall? Are you trying them in a practice room? What's the environment? Because that, for those of you that might be planning to use the instrument in, let's say, an ensemble, you might want to hear it in that space.
In the space.
To know what it feels like. Yeah. So there's a lot of resources that you just want to kind of have an idea of when you go into the process before you even start trying the instruments. That will really help clarify things for you.
It sounds like a lot, but it's common sense, and you can do it.
That's right.
And so, in Smart Search, we've covered artistic needs, resources. We've talked about budget, people, spaces. T, we have to be smart with a T, and the T is timing. And timing means you need to get this organized in a way that when you do have a trial, your teacher is there. You receive the instrument when you do have rehearsal that week. Or you're going to have a lesson with your teacher that week. Or the colleagues and the people who are going to hear you play the instrument, they are available to come in and hear you. So timing is to make sure all of those resources are used in a very practical and efficient way, and that everybody is available at the right time. So you have to organize yourself about this, and that will make for a much better trial.
Yeah, and actually not only organizing it, but really, again, with the acronym, start your search when you can maximize. Right, that's the key here.
Yeah.
You want to maximize your artistic reasons that you're looking, so you can really push the limits to see how close to your goal you can get. Also, you want to maximize your resources, maximize your budget, maximize the people that you want the information from, their feedback from, maximize the instruments that you're trying to make sure they're playing at the very best, right? And maximize your timing. Maybe your wish list is to have absolutely every person and every rehearsal you might have, in your 7-day trial period, but maybe that's not possible. At least you thinking about it helps to get everything, as much as you can, get lined up. It's all about maximizing your experience.
Right, you're spending money on a new instrument, you want to do it right. So get it together with the Smart Search part. When that is ready, then we're ready to try the instruments. This is the part that we all can't wait to get to. You really need to do your homework though with Smart Search first, so that your trial of the instruments is the best that it can be. So now we're going to try the instruments. This is very exciting. You can get a little nervous, but when the flutes come, or you're at the flute festival and you start playing the instruments, it's a great time. However, again, it can be a little overwhelming. How do we do a trial that we can figure out and evaluate what flute is best for me?
That's right. And don't worry, we've got that covered too. We'll be talking about that next.
Welcome back. In the last video, Adam and I walked you through the SMART search. Start your search by maximizing your artistry, resources, and timing. Now it's time to learn about the safe trial method, a great strategy for play testing and comparing instruments during your trial. So Adam, let's talk about the safe trial.
Well, I'm so glad that we're talking about safe trial because this is what everyone wants to get to, right?
Right.
But one more caveat before we start talking about safe trial. Sorry for the delay. But essentially what you want whenever you have the chance to try all of these instruments, or perhaps you have a home trial or you're at an exhibit, a flute fair of some kind where there are lots of instruments for you to try, you know, we really suggest always that you just play through everything. This is what we call the discovery phase, right?
So, right.
It's time to like just play through things, have fun, enjoy yourself, you know, see what's there, you know, have your excited moments. Oh, I love that. Look at the case. I love how this one sounds and feels. It's so shiny.
You're going to be like a kid in a candy shop. When the box of flute shows up, you're just going to, so just play and have fun and enjoy and figure everything out.
That's right. And so have that great time. And then when this, as the trial progresses and it's time for you to really start making some decisions.
Right. We got to get to work. Yeah.
You got to get to work. You got to make some, comparisons, that will help you with your accuracy in terms of feeling more confident about what your decisions might be.
Right.
And that's where safe trial comes in.
Okay.
So like SMART search, safe trial is another acronym. And it stands for sound, S for sound, A for articulation, F for flexibility, and E for experience. And in that order, sound, then articulation, then flexibility, then experience, right? And so you can essentially rank each instrument. Let's say you have, 5 choices and you play sound and articulation. Sound first, right? You might narrow it down to 4 choices because you prefer 4 of them over the 5th one, right? And then you move on to articulation, right? Now you're trying articulation, then flexibility, then experience. And it starts to kind of narrow it down. And what happens is through your trial of testing those things, you're playing some short musical excerpts to highlight those things,
Short.
right? Very short, 30 seconds or less typically is a great way to do it. And you try them on each instrument that you're seriously considering, and you do it in this order, and it can really help you make your decisions more clear as you go through the process.
This makes the most sense to me because sound is what people tend to resonate with the most when it comes to their instrument and their own identity. They see themselves, hear themselves, identify themselves with the sound they make on their flute. So how does one explore and compare on these trial instruments? How do you specifically do this?
Well, so we're talking about comparing sound, right? Sure. So the very first thing that you want to do is before you make direct comparisons back to back, let's say you had 5 options in your trial box and you really narrowed it down to 4 kind of right away in your discovery phase because you just like these 4 better than the 5th one, which is completely possible, that you want to start focusing on sound. But before you do that, the best thing to do is to play those 4 instruments and get them set up so that they're playing in tune.
Right.
That's very important. Not every brand and model you shouldn't expect every brand and model to have the head joint in exactly the same place as, let's say, for example, your current flute, your previous flute, right? The one you're looking to replace. Every brand and model has a different place that it needs to be set in order to play best in tune when individual flutists play them. You will always find that an in-tune instrument is playing really with its fullest possible sound. So, yeah, I mean, we really just want to make sure they're set up, and then you start to compare.
Then you get into it. Okay, we've been delaying that actual trial part, but you've got to get those instruments out. You've got to tune them, have all the head joints on every brand. I think it's fascinating that you'll find every brand will be a little different, but get them all set up, lying down, ready to go, so that every time you pick up an instrument, it's there for you and it's ready to perform at its best.
That's right.
So that's really interesting, I think, that you have to do that. So then you're ready. So what do we play?
So we actually recommend, and I know you may have lots of ideas about stuff that you would like to play, But one of our favorite things to do is to just play the F major scale.
Sure.
Right? It's accessible. Most people are familiar with it, right? We can kind of it keeps us in the core range of the flute, not too high, not too low.
And you know, the beginning flutists out there, everybody can play the F major scale, everybody from the professional to the young player. So it's accessible for everybody.
That's right.
That's all you need, really.
Yeah.
For a long time, that's all you need.
It can really reveal a lot.
Yeah.
Right? So playing that scale 2 octaves slurred up and down with as big and full a sound as you can is a really great way to tell what the potential quality of sound is and the volume of sound. And I don't just mean loud and soft, I mean big, right? Yeah. The true size of the sound. So it should be played slowly with as much full sound and support as you can give it. And you want to evaluate the sound as you're going up and down. You want to look for evenness and pay attention to, you know, how it feels. And placement and things just to make sure you're really resonating exactly where the instrument might want it to be. And not only is the F major scale great for sound, and you can make direct comparisons that way, but actually it can also cover articulation, which is our second letter in our acronym SAFE trial. So you can actually repeat your scale, your F major scale, and this time with a single tongue up and maybe a single tongue down. And for those of you that are using the advanced technique of double tonguing, you can actually also try F major up and down double tongued in all sorts of ways, just to isolate and highlight the articulation. And we do articulation second to sound because we want to know what the core sound is of the instrument before we go trying to get fancy with our articulation, right?
Right.
And that lays the groundwork for you to be able to tell more about what the articulation can do. But all of this is done on just the F major scale.
Yeah.
2 octaves, really easy.
Yep,
so it's pretty straightforward.
So that's all you need. So you do your F major scale, you've covered now both sound, articulation. That really helps to be efficient with your time and your focus. But I do want to have you remember in your smart search, this is also where your resources really come in handy. And I really think having your teacher there, or definitely making a recording. I know your teacher colleagues, there are times that they can be with you, you want to maximize your timing, but making a recording is always there for you. You need to know how you sound on these different flutes.
That's right, and I can't stress that enough. You know, I've worked with thousands of flute players of all levels for many years, and you know, depending on what your artistic goals are, you know, sometimes it's hard while you're getting used to the instruments that you're playing. You know, they're unfamiliar, so you're worried about driving the flute and you're not necessarily able to hear the results, right? So setting up a recording device is a key tool, and of course in your regular practice it would probably work wonders for you also, but record as much as you can, especially if you really want to know what's happening.
Right. Okay, so we've done sound, articulation, next is flexibility. Yay, so this component is where you're really going to test the extremes of the flute, right? Your dynamics, range, colors, and ease of playing. How fast is your articulation? How slow is it? Is there an ease with your articulation? Are you working harder on one flute than another with that? Do you have any suggestions of what you need to play with this? I have a feeling it's still going to be our F major scale.
We're going to try to get away from the F major scale.
Probably time for a break.
But yeah, we actually do have suggestions for sound and articulation and flexibility. But most flutists can use some of the simplest tools, right? Which is, let's say, just some common things that we have in our repertoire. Even exercises like different kinds of scales, also scales that go even higher, chromatic scale that can go from the low to the high, so you can be testing those extended ranges of the flute, right? Long tones, or even other exercises that you may know, or even better, play some tunes that you love, right? These can be tuneful melodies, they can be some, you know, fast exercises that you really like, that you love the finger pattern and the sound of, to see how the instrument responds.
Sure. It can be simple, and you play it in the low register, take it up an octave, play it in the upper register, play it loud, play it soft, really
right.
push the extremes of the instrument. How much can this instrument give you?
And we think sometimes, you know, in terms of flexibility, of course, many of you probably like to play expressively. And so one of the things with flexibility that we love is to have people play beautiful melodies like The Swan by Saint-Saëns. I know you have a favorite.
Oh yeah, Moon River. I love to play that for my mom. That's her favorite.
And what's great about that is you can play it down an octave and hear the warmth and the color of the low register, and you can also play it up an octave and hear what the instrument does up there.
Yeah.
That's
so, so after flexibility, the last letter is E for safe, to finish the word safe, and E stands for experience. So tell me what that means and how does that affect our trial? I need a clarification on the term experience.
Yeah. Experience can be a little bit ambiguous, but I think once I explain it, you'll understand a little bit more. We actually call it experience squared, and we'll talk about why in a second. But you know, on the one hand, your physical experience with the instrument on a sonic and physical connection of playing each instrument is really important. I mean, we want you to be happy and comfortable on the instrument that you might end up purchasing, of course. But you're evaluating the instrument on terms of how it feels in your experience kind of playing that instrument, maybe on ergonomics, maybe on balance, you know, maybe on mechanism feel, how responsive the mechanism feels, maybe on the lip plate, how it fits right here on your face. Maybe head joint placement is different from brand to brand, which will affect your physical experience with that instrument. Essentially, the overall feel of the instrument in your hands and your ears, and how you experience really driving the flute. Right?
Right. And I like that term, driving, because we test drive cars. This is how you test drive your flutes. You know, you have to test everything. So you mentioned experience squared. What do you mean by that?
So early on when I developed Safe Trial, it always was about experience. And it was about your experience because, of course, that's the most important. But depending on your use case and your artistic goals for your new instrument, for you and your new instrument, you know, your experience might not be the only experience that matters. It might also be your audience's experience, right? So if you're taking an audition or you're planning to, you know, you want to level up your sound or elevate your play, you want to make sure that the people out there are hearing what you're hearing and feeling, right? It's great if you feel good, but if your audience isn't enjoying the sound that they're hearing, you know, you want to take that into account. And I know some of you may remember the first time that you ever heard your voice on some sort of recording device.
That's not so good.
That's not me, is it? That's not really me, right? Flute can have a similar effect, right? What we hear and feel right around us can often be very different than what's happening out there. And if that doesn't matter to you and it's all about your experience explicitly, that's amazing. You've set that for yourself, which is great. But if other people's concept of what they're hearing matters in your use case, you definitely want to take that into consideration. So it is about your experience, but it's also about your audience's experience. Are they experiencing what your artistic intention is with your sound and the flexibility of the instruments that you've narrowed it down to?
That's a great point, because I have tried some instruments that I went, wow, I would play them and right here they would sound amazing. I would sound amazing, right?
You do sound amazing.
Oh yeah, but then out there they would tell me, oh, it's very, very one-dimensional. It's very bright, or you'll build a vocabulary of words to describe sounds. Let me tell you, and it wasn't what I was hearing here. It wasn't going out there.
That's right.
And so that's why you need those resources, and that's why you need those recordings, and that's why you need to take your time in this whole process. It's really so. I love Smart Search. I love Safe Trial. I think this is really going to help you purchase a flute that's right for you. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope this has been great information for you, and this empowers you to go out and find your voice and the right instrument for you. Thank you so much, Adam, for being here.
Well, thank you, Debbie, and for you, play on.